Hi, this is Linda Ehrenfried with OOAKArtDolls.com. Okay, today we're going to talk about how to sculpt a head. This head in particular, and I want to try to cover a number of different things. This is actually my third take. My cat decided to intervene on the other two. Okay, so I start with a foil ball, and the way I decide how big to make the foil ball is typically by looking at the profile of the head. And since I don't have a profile picture for this one, I'm going to use this little cleverly made skull that Mark Dennis produces. And it's going to show you how I'm placing the foil ball in the circle area on the back of the skull. This is not the face. This is just the back part of the skull. So we're going to fit it within that space back here. When you look at it from the top, it is also small enough that it fits within that space on the top of the head. You can look at it on the picture and see that it is narrower than the face. Let's see if I can get the right angle. There you go. Narrower than the face. Okay, and I'm going to take and I'm going to put it into the clay, keeping track of where it is in the clay, because again, it is the back of the head. Okay, and get a general shape going for the head. A little warming here. Clay got a little bit cold while I wasn't touching it. Okay, and all right, try to make sure we keep this so that this is the front, this is the top. All right, flatten out the top of the head a little bit. Now you can, at this point, if you want to, insert a holder and sculpt on it. Anything will work. That'll help you maintain where the front of the face is as well. See this little spot right there? That is a Mooney waiting to happen. So I'm going to get rid of that. Just poke it, let the air out, and smooth it back down again. Any of those you can get rid of during this process is golden. Oh, there's another one. When you start moving the clay around and you push here and something over here moves, that is definitely air under the surface of the clay. So you want to try to get that air out of there. Okay, so we're going to get our general head shape going here. Compare to my picture, and I'm a little wide, so I'm going to come in, narrow that down a little bit. Okay. The chin can be established pretty close to where I want it at this point by bringing it forward. Don't want to overdo it. Kitty came back. Okay, so we have a general shape here, and one of the other things that you can do to make sure you're staying on track is to take a tool and go from the chin to the top of the head with the tool, and look at the chin to the top of the head on your head, and I now see that I need more skull. So I'm going to cut another piece. Okay, and you can see this piece is about what I need. So I'm going to give that a little work. Add that up here. Okay. This cat is determined. All right, you can add that in like that. I watch these videos of people working with that soft water-based clay, and I so envy them. No conditioning required and no need to constantly feather it in. They can just sculpt, and it adds, and it just blends perfectly without giving it a second thought. Okay, so I'm not going to worry about the back of the head so much. And let's see what we have. Looks like we're closer. From the chin to the top of the head. Oh, I'm off camera. There we go. From the chin to the top of the head. Chin to the top of the head. We've got it now. Size is correct. Hit the camera. Okay. Camera stand. Alright. Well, obviously this is not going to be possible for me to keep this perfectly clean and keep adjusting the camera and fending off the cat. Okay, so my dirty head and I are going to step to the next step. There is an indentation where the eyes are, and despite the bridge of the nose, it does go all the way across. So what I do is I pick my eye line, which is about here. The eye line is a little more than halfway up the head. So you got the chin. The center point is actually just above the nose, the center point of the head. The eye line is above that. So we're looking at about here. And actually, let me find a thicker one. There we go. My X-Acto blade. You're going to go ahead and create that indentation where the eyes go. Okay, see that? And then I'm going to reduce the cheek height like that. I'm going to create these planes right here. And we're going to bring this clay up, and around the mouth is a area where the clay is a little bit taller, so it kind of runs forward a bit. And again, I bring it from the outside towards the middle, and I get a general shape of the head going. Okay, none of this is set in stone yet. You see on your illustration there is a plane here, a plane here, and then a flatter plane across here. So we're going to address those as well. This, right down the center, down to the brow line, is that center plane. And then this runs over to the temple, and this runs over to the temple. Okay. We're going to leave that as is for the moment. Temple is another plane. Okay. The cheeks here are still relatively wide, but we'll address that in a minute too. Okay, so we're gonna bring this in, soften here and here. This is the general shape that we're shooting for with this head. Okay, let me get rid of this line that the camera made. Okay, so her jaw is narrow here. I'm going to come from under the chin and roll up, establishing her jawline. You can roll up or down, either one. But you're going to flatten out this area here. These things never want to stay in the head for me. Okay. Let's try again. A different angle. There we go. Maybe that'll stay. Okay, so now this area of the chin here below the lips is a lower plane. So I'm going to switch back to my smaller, skinnier tool. I'm going to give that little dent there. Keep my jaw up. I don't want to press it in too much. Then below the nose, which again, the chin is here. The nose is just below the midline. So looking at the head and looking at its midline, which we can mark real quick. Here is the middle of the forehead, the middle of the nose, the middle of the jaw. Alright, eyeline, nose, mouth. Okay, so sorry, my voice is still a little bit funny from the cold. Okay, so you want to bring this area here down and kind of round it into the face. So you're pushing back. This is not the right one. That's okay. I'll make do. I don't know where the other one is. I'm going to round this around and forward. And on the same thing on this side, around and forward. Because the whole area where the teeth are actually comes forward. And then the lips beyond that comes forward. So we'll start there, and then grab one of these. I'm going to add a small piece in here to bring the bridge of the nose and the rest of the nose together. Now what I do is I make a little kind of almost a teardrop shape, if you can see that, and I put it down in that hole. I'll show you from the side. Down in that hole and up. Make sure it's in the middle. Okay, and then I'm gonna connect it down and up to the head. And I do the nose ahead of the eyes because I like to go ahead and get that connected and good and smooth before the eyes are in the way. Because that little divot is hard to work in. Sorry, this lighting is not ideal. But the paper was, oh, actually, I think I can solve that problem. by getting rid of plastic. Let's see. Okay, yeah, lighting's better now. Okay. There we go, much better. Got a little more room too. Okay. Okay, nothing feminine about this face right at the moment, I know, but it'll get there. Okay, so we're going to continue to feather this in. Gotta put my eyes on real quick. Okay, feather this in, which you can do with any kind of tool that you want, wood or metal or whatever. My other favorite tool happens to be inside of the head right at the moment. I'll pull that back out. Alright, and just get this connected back into this part of the face. Now we're going to look at the nose on this doll, and you can see on this picture that there is a flat bridge. The top part of the nose is flat, and then the nose actually rounds from the cheek. It curves up, and then it slopes at an angle right up the side of the nose, and then it meets that flat plane, and it does that on both sides of the face. So what we're going to do is I'm going to use my stylus, and on both sides of the nose I'm going to create that slope. And a smaller stylus. I think the kitty has struck again. I adopted a stray because its tail was damaged and it needed somebody to take it to the vet and look out for it. But ever since, my house has been chaos. Hopefully, he'll get over this kitten phase and stop destroying everything soon. Okay, so I'm trying to stay in the camera here. Okay. So we're going to go back to the bridge of the nose, and the curve and slope that are on either side of the bridge of the nose. Bring that down. It comes all the way down the face, down both sides of the nose, and then the face runs around this way. The nostrils, get rid of these bigger specks of dirt here real quick. Sorry. Better to get rid of them now than to try to deal with them when the piece is baked. Okay, so you want to again make sure you're not stretching the face too much. And this is again trying to keep it in scale with the hands. So you do your chin test and you go up. Well, my fingers are bent over, but the middle finger is longer than the pointer finger, so I can get a pretty good estimate. And you run it up. The middle finger, the pointer finger is stopping here, which means the middle finger would be stopping right about there, right where it's supposed to be. And the width of the face is approximately half, or double rather, the size, the width of the hand. So we're still in good shape. Okay. And the nose, I'm going to establish by pushing in on this side of the nose, and then pushing in on that side of the nose. You can see it starting to shape up. I'm going to come from below the nose and come up that side. Angle again from below the nose and come up. This starts to establish the shape of the top lip, because that is a curve, it's not a flat line. Okay, and time-wise, I'm running out of time, so let me try to get a little bit more done with this nose shape. Now, at this point, I'm going to lift the nose and bring it down by running my finger across the top of the nose, moving the clay towards me. Push back up from underneath. You can see the tip of the nose is lifting as I'm doing this. Pushing up from underneath and sweeping down the bridge of the nose. And I am moving the nose down to where I want it and shaping the tip of the nose at the same time. Okay, now you're going to come back in again and create that plane that's right there on the face. And there. Alright. I don't want the nose too wide. Okay. Alright. Now this is where we are for the moment. And I'm going to turn this off and start the next video. Okay, so we're back. A few seconds later. And here is the head that we were working on. Hopefully when we're done it's going to resemble this one. It's got a lot of stages to go through still. Okay, we want to figure out where the mouth and nose are going to be in relation to the other parts. I was working on the nose and trying to get the general shape that I want of the nose. I'm not doing the nostrils yet because I want to get it in the right height and I want to get it with the correct amount of clay where I want it. I have a little too much clay right there on the bridge, so I'm going to take that away. Use the stylus. It's a great tool for shaping, for smoothing. It's good for a whole lot of stuff. Okay. It's pretty good for the moment. Alright. Now the nose, the general shape is where I want it. Bring that brow line down a little bit. And okay. So this one's nose has a little bit wider flared nostrils, so that's why I left hers a little wider. And then the tip of the nose is a little blunt, but you have to remember the septum is here in the shadow. And the septum is the space that is right between the nostrils. And the septum, when you look at it from the side, actually angles at it angles down. Even if the nostrils angle back, it angles down towards the mouth. So what you want to do to make sure you establish the septum is you want to come in to the nostrils on either side of the septum and carefully mark where you want them to be. If you want wider nostrils, you can flare them by going deeper into the nose and actually drawing the clay out from inside the nostril. For now, I'm just going to mark an indication of where I want it to be. And I like a small nose on a lady. Okay. Oh, there's one. So I'm going to try to narrow the top line on the bridge of the nose, again with a smaller stylus, and bring it down, gently rolling it down the side of the nose, turn it upside down, and come down the other side, almost to the tip, but not completely. Okay, just getting our general shapes here. And brushes are something else that you can use when working on areas that it's hard to get your hand into. They're very effective for smoothing and getting rid of lines and creases. Try to stay in the thing there. Okay. Not that a harsh line is the end of the world, but you want to avoid it if you can. And then you can put that defined line back in. That simple. Okay. So next is going to be deciding where the mouth is going to be. So we're going to take our tool, and as you can see, I have left plenty of clay here to be the mouth. So we should be able to pick our line. You can see the clay is already built up in that area, so I don't have to add. Everything else was pushed back. We started with a flat plane out here, and everything else was pushed back. Okay. And we're going to turn it upside down, and we're going to pick the corners of the mouth are going to line up with approximately the outer corner of the eye. So if I'm going to estimate here and here is where my eyes are going to be, it's pretty close. Then the corners of my mouth are going to want to be approximately there and there. So that's where they're going to be. And we're shooting for a relatively static expression for the moment. Okay. Now, she has rather full lips. And this is one way to achieve that. You're going to come in and part the lips a little bit more. Get the general shape smoothed out. Okay, now up here you have that lovely little divot above the upper lip, which is just as easy to establish that right now. And I usually do it to a slight overkill. I do more than I need to, exaggerate it. And then I come back in with my tool and I come below the lip line where I want the lip to be, and I push up to that divot. Turn it upside down, and again push up to the divot. And then from above it, it can come down towards the lip, and that makes a nice defined lip line. Now you're going to have a little tweaking to do, a little back and forth, but the divot ends right where the divot in the lip begins. Oops. This part, sorry, I'm trying to see through the camera. Are we focusing? Okay. So there's that. upper lip line. Okay. And all these shapes are still rough. This is not how she's going to look when I'm done. We're following the planes, as you can see, these lines. So the next thing we want to do is, one, narrow her jaw a little bit. This line right here around the mouth is actually going to come up and push in the bottom corner of her mouth. A little too hard. That's okay. So we're going to bring the bottom lip over from there and over from there. But you want to make that dent, because when you look at the mouth from the side, there's an indentation there. And to smooth that line, since this is a woman and not a man, you can just sweep that right up into that nasal labial fold. It's a natural progression. Now, if this was a man, that would be perfectly acceptable the way it is. You wouldn't need to do any smoothing or softening. You could just leave it the way it is. But it's a girl, so we're going to soften it. Okay. And the bottom lip is going to be beneath the upper lip, so keep an eye on where I'm at. Going to push in and under. This side as well, in and under. Alright. Soften that a little bit. And get rid of that dirt. Picked up a lot of dirt from the kitty. She keeps jumping up on the desk, so. Okay, camera. I'm going to look where I need you to look. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to soften this line here and soften this line here. And I like to use this tool, one, because it's round and makes everything softer. When you're doing a female especially, that's nice. And just because that's what I'm used to using. Okay, so I use a scalpel, and I'm going to soften these cheeks a little bit, because they're a little too full. Alright, I'm gonna amend this jawline a little bit. Get it a little softer. Okay. Alright, now to decide on the width of the head, if I've gone too wide, I think right at the temple I'm a little too wide, so I'm going to put my thumbs on both sides of the head and press in at the temple. Try to narrow the tip of the jaw here, give it a little more feminine quality. Okay. And I think this side is a little more forward than that side, so let's do that. The whole time you're sculpting, you want to look at the symmetry and stick with the general shapes at first so that you can figure out if you're in the neighborhood of where you want to be. There we go. It's a little softer. A little more feminine. Some serious dirt here. Okay. Don't be afraid to make a little mark because you can always get rid of it later. Okay, so we've got our lines smoothed. Okay, in the right neighborhood. And now we need to put some eyes in her.